Hello, everyone. This is Will.
This is Alex.
Welcome back to another episode of They Mostly Come Out at Night.
Mostly.
Well, we're back.
We are.
Our little holiday vacation is over, and
Yes.
we're back to watching 80s movies.
We are back to our old shit.
Yep, we're back on our bullshit. Okay, back for the attack. Yeah, I don't know. It was a good break, but man, I'm ready to get back into the recording booth and just start watching like shit movies again.
Watch Schlock.
Except for sometimes comes along a movie that is actually pretty good.
Yeah, you enjoy it.
Like, is it the best movie ever? Of course not. It's on this podcast. It's not going to be like a masterpiece. I mean, it's not. I mean, nothing can be Death Force. But
No.
But every once in a while we do get a little treat. We get a little just entertaining nugget
Like this.
like this, like what we watched tonight. Just damn good stuff.
Yeah, it's called Scared to Death.
Scared to Death.
Very kind of nondescript title, but it is what it is, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it works for the narrative or whatever they were going for. I mean, none of them get scared to death because there's like a actual thing that kills them, but it's fine.
I'm sure it looks fine on a poster.
I'm sure, they just were like, okay, well, we can't call it like the name of the monster or whatever, so
That's too bad.
Let's just go with, I guess, Scared to Death. It's generic, but it works
Whatever.
because it's a horror movie, Yeah, so I don't know, just like a nice like monster movie with like genetic experimentation going on.
Yeah, genetic mutations and making new life forms and
What I like most about this movie is before we get into it, like there's like we get so many movies where it's just like filled to the brim with just bullshit scenes that have nothing to do with what narrative they're trying to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And they just go on for way too long and nothing happens and then it goes nowhere and then we finally get to the narrative because they had to pad out time. But this is like an hour and 36 minutes and it doesn't waste your fucking time.
Yeah, you know what this is?
Goes.
We watched a movie called The Dark.
Yes.
Which was bad. Very bad. It hurt my feelings greatly.
Well, yeah, because like you couldn't see anything.
It was literally, The Dark. Get it? Yeah, because that was
The Dark
movie itself. But also because it was boring as fuck. Nothing happened. But this is that. This is literally that. It's the same fucking story, except in The Dark, it's a stupid alien. But this is literally that, but good. And
yeah,
what a concept.
It's weird because it's like they watched The Dark and were like, I could do better, and they did.
Because it's a movie about a police cop and a former cop investigating these killings that are going on in Los Angeles at night by a weird thing.
Yeah, it's always at night, and the murders are like seemingly like at random.
Yes. No one knows what the deal is. And like I said, one person's a cop, the other person's a former cop, but in the movie, they're currently like an author, and there's even a love interest for the non-police officer, just like in The Dark. But this works, whereas The Dark just falls on his fucking ass.
You know why this works, though? Because it's bathed in scenes that are actually well, like, lit.
You know why? Because The Dark looks like a potato, and this has that glorious 80s style. With just, I don't know, like scenes, like you just watch the opening scene, and like you know what it is.
Well, it's kind of crazy because in the 80s you get this distinctive, like, almost like colorful palette. Because they used a lot of like weird lighting effects and like harsh shadows, but like they did a lot of experimentation with like color.
Yeah, you get lots of. I don't know. It just makes the scenes more memorable because
In a way, they kind of pop.
yes,
It I don't know
because
if
what's
it-
happening on screen isn't like inherently interesting or important necessarily to the narrative, but because it's got that style, it makes it more entertaining.
It's interesting because this movie, like, however bad you might think it is, at least you can take away one thing. It actually is like pretty well directed, and I would say the shots are set up really well where you can actually see stuff. Like, this is a pretty good looking movie. Like, they didn't have to go this hard in making it look this good.
For a low budget movie, this is
It looks really good for like a low budget movie.
yeah.
I would say it's one of the better looking movies we've watched in recent memory.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's not quite Fiend,
oh God,
but
I barely remember what happened in Fiend.
nothing. It was Rear Window, but stupid.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, let's get into it. We'll do Scared to Death because
Scared to
super simple plot, really. Like,
Good.
I mean, good. I mean, like I said, it doesn't waste your time. It's
No.
just a super simple plot. They tell what they mean to tell, and then it's over, and then you're done. It's just an hour
Yeah.
and 30 minutes, and you can enjoy yourself, and
you
then
have a
move
nice
on.
old time and move on with your day. Like it's fine. It's good. If you like monster movies, it's good. But starts with like a disclaimer. Remember?
Yeah, about like genetic mutation and how we're like,
Like this movie is currently fiction, but it doesn't. It might happen later in the future because genetic experiments and all that. And then we get scenes of like a sewer.
garbage flowing into the sewer and stuff.
And then we get like a POV of someone walking around a sewer looking at. I didn't know what the fuck they were looking at first, but later on you find out what they're looking for. So
So it's
they
like
got me there.
It's like ambling and shuffling around, and then it goes out of the sewer and goes to some woman's house and watches her undress.
And it goes like looks through the windows, and we get again just style
Yep.
where we get like blue lights flowing onto the woman through like the window, and then the room itself is bathed in red. It's just all very, very style,
Like
mucho style.
Yes. They
And it's great.
established the shots before they actually like said action, which was
Yes,
very much appreciated because we haven't seen that in a minute.
It's not just put down camera and film flat with flat lighting. It's just like we got actual craft going on. But she's on the phone, and some guy invites her to a film festival. She turns him down. She's painting her nails. Power goes out.
So something breaks and that alerts
And she thinks
her.
it's like her cat.
Yep. And then she goes out and the power goes out.
And she gets a candle, starts looking around the rooms, back and forth, and gets attacked by
Something. It looks like it almost looks like a xenomorph.
it looks like the xenomorph from Alien,
Like
but with like eyes,
human eyes.
kind of.
It's kind of weird. Like, it doesn't fully show it, but it does have like a conal like head, and like has like this weird pronounced jaw that comes out.
Yeah, and we'll get more on that part of it. But
We'll get more similarities to a xenomorph, actually. So.
we will with some added flavor.
Yes.
But it kills her. We see like a dab of blood on like a doll, and the scene ends.
Yep. So next is we get our detective,
Our main cop.
our main cop detective.
Who's investigating it, and we know that there's been like a series of murders.
Yeah, so they're investigating this one, which is like number whatever.
Like number 10 or 11.
Yeah, there's like been just this huge mystery about like just random people getting murdered at night in kind of the same way,
Yeah,
and they're like they have no leads.
they don't have anything, and this cop shows up and is telling him like, I've got the mayor on my ass, I've got everyone on my ass, like you have to like do something. And he's like, well, I can't just arrest like the first person I see. Like we have to investigate this. Like he's like, maybe we could talk to Lonergan.
Lonergan.
And the captain's like, abso-fucking-lutely not.
He's like, no, there's no way. You cannot bring Lonergan on this one.
And the next scene is our guy.
He's talking to his publicist.
Because he's an author.
Yes.
So he's a former cop turned author.
Yes.
And he's talking to like his publicist, and the publicist is just yelling at him for like being late with whatever.
I'm like writing the same book like a million times.
And he's like, and they argue, and like I like the writing in this. I'm not gonna lie, I think it's funny.
Now the first thing you'll notice about Lonergan though is he gives absolutely zero, and I mean zero fucks about anything.
Because the publicist is like, you know something, your writing is garbage, and he's like, yeah, I know.
So you buy it.
But you buy it, so I write what you buy. And he starts pulling out of this parking spot and hits a woman's car.
Yep, and then is so like nonchalant about like just hitting this woman's car. He's like, "Don't you watch where you're going?"
She's like, "You were the one who ran into me." He's like, "Oh, I did? Oh, well, maybe you should get a smaller car. You should get a smaller car."
And she's all, well, this car is like a family heirloom, and like you crashed into it.
Because he's like, oh, I hit your like was it like the wheelbase or whatever? So it's like, this is gonna be a hard one. She's like, I can't believe you did this. This is like a family heirloom. This is all this, like it's an antique. And then he's like, well,
he's like, okay, I'm sorry. Here's my like personal information and my number.
Like, I'll pay you.
I'll pay you. Just like tell me how much I owe, and I'll write you a check.
I'll give you the money.
And she's like,
oh,
well, we're gonna call the cops. And he's like, well, no, I don't have time.
It's like, you don't understand. I gotta go.
And she's just sitting there and saying like, well, we need to call the cops. And he's like, no, I don't have time. And he just drives away, basically.
Don't forget, he keeps offering her his like candy.
Oh yeah,
what
like
it called?
like atomic rocks.
He's like, yeah, this sucks.
It's like,
want an atomic rock?
It's like the popping rocks.
Yeah, it's like pop rocks, I guess.
Yeah,
80s pop rocks.
It's 80s pop rocks.
He also offers her a juicy fruit. He's like, oh, you don't like that? I got a juicy fruit, maybe.
Yeah. Again, zero fucks. Like, he does not care at all about like what this woman thinks or that
what
he
anyone
just
thinks.
crashed into her car. He is the most nonchalant person I think I've seen in a while in these movies, and I love it because
no, it's fun.
He's like cynical too, he has like a cynical worldview too, which we'll get to later. But like,
because I mean, I might have missed it. They don't really tell us why he quit being a cop. I almost get the feeling that he quit just because he was like, and this is all in my head, obviously, but I almost get the feeling that he just quit because he was so fed up with like all the dark shit he was saying. That's why he's the way he is. So he just writes hack novels now.
So next scene we see him with the detective
playing chess,
and they're friends.
Yeah,
and they're playing chess at his like dirty ass apartment.
His dirty fucking office apartment.
His office / apartment.
And it's great. And they're just playing, and like, he brings up like the murders, and the guy's like, forget it.
He's like, I'm not getting involved with this. Like, I already told you,
I'm done with
all that stuff. And then the woman comes in with the car.
And the cop is just like, who are you? Like,
oh, you're that crazy. You're the lady with the Jag.
He's like, yeah, he said you'd be coming. And he leaves. And, they have a nice conversation. He pays her with cash, and he overpays by like $800 or some crazy amount. And then, she's all like, she likes him because even though he gives no fucks, he's totally willing to pay.
Yeah.
And then he asks her out to dinner.
Well, so no, remember what happens is he asks her out to dinner. She kind of like doesn't say yes, but doesn't say no. And then leaves, and then he leaves her like a rose and like,
oh yeah,
the wheel well for her
for
car.
her car and a note.
And he's like, I hope it's the right color. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like you can like you know where to reach me and stuff. And then it's so cute because she leaves a note on his door,
Saying like, I'll take you up on that date.
and she's like, I'll be here by like 8 or whatever.
It's great.
And then we get a weird scene of her like going to pick up the dude.
Don't forget, we get a death.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah, the girl in the car.
Because there's a girl who gets like dropped off by her car, and she gets out, and
She's like hanging out with friends, and she's like, "Oh, well, like, you know, like don't don't be concerned unless I don't answer tomorrow. Like, you know,
I can walk.
maybe I'll wind up dead or something." Like they're joking around that she's gonna die, and I'm just like, "Wow, that's
Or she's like, I hope I make it home
a
alive.
little on the nose, but okay, it's fine."
And she walks, hears some noise, and then like gets in her car. Of course, car won't start.
This scene is like surprisingly well done. Like it could have been really dumb.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't look like fantastic, but at least it's not like really stupid.
Well, there's effort.
Yeah, like you can tell what's going on and you can tell what
Yeah.
they were going for. It's like it's pretty obvious.
But there's effort because she can't start the car. Eventually she starts the car and like, you know, starts like revving and the wheels turning, but she's not going anywhere. Like her car is just not moving. And then we see behind the car, like in her rearview mirror, a fucking, like a figure rise up. And so we know that that thing is basically like lifting the car and preventing her from driving. And eventually like walks up and like busts in and starts munching her.
She puts her like hands on the window and there's like blood and like a bloody handprint.
And the bloody handprint
stuff.
as we see her like getting nommed.
And again, the lighting is well,
Yeah.
like it's well lit, so you can tell exactly what's going on. Like you can see in the silhouette, like the alien behind her, and her like trying to like get out and everything. And it's really well done.
What a concept.
It's like The Dark, but good.
This is literally that.
Except there's no decapitation, which I would have liked to seen.
Yeah, but I don't want to give any praise to The Dark.
So now we get a brief scene of a woman doing laundry. This is just after the woman in the car gets murdered.
And she
sees like a news report about all these killings.
and she just doesn't look. She looks uncomfortable. And then when she makes her phone call,
And gets like, it goes straight to voicemail.
and then she just hangs up the phone. And I mean, we didn't know at the time who the hell she was. I thought she knew like the woman who got killed, but we'll find out later who she is. And then after that, we get our writer and the woman.
So she takes him to her house because he doesn't have any fancy clothes, and
Well, 'cause
she
she
wants to
shows
go
up-
to like this fancy restaurant.
She shows up like decked out, and then he comes out of the back,
And like
like-
a polo and jeans.
and he just like looks at her and looks at himself as like, oh. And then she's like, well, tell you what, we'll go to my place.
I'll
Like,
go to my place, we can talk, I got steaks, whatever.
and they go and they eat. It's all very. I mean, it's fine. It's, you know, it didn't. It's cute.
Well, they talk about who she is. They talk about
because he
kinda,
looked
like,
her up because he's a detective, so he knows like
his
her entire
stuff.
backstory.
Her parents died in a car crash and
all this
all
stuff.
this stuff. Like you get kind of more like character building that wasn't necessary, but it's nice because we get more motivations of like why they do the things they do.
Well, we get. I mean, look. At least we have like a fine scene of them to like, you know, falling in love or whatever.
Well, that's what I appreciate about some of these movies. It's like they only have an hour and a half, but we still get like a world that's like lived in.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about that was where it's like it's showing kind of what's going on in their daily lives.
So
They're
yeah,
not
they
just these robots that just like write and like solve crimes.
spout exposition.
Yeah, they're just not exposition machines.
Because they go and like, you know, she puts on music and they talk and drink wine.
It's just normal people shit, and it's good to see in a movie because it grounds the movie in reality.
Yes. And it gives us a chance to care about the characters.
Yep.
And then we get a very like 80s kind of sex scene, I guess.
It's like a very passionate, like, love making scene, but like they don't show any nudity or anything. It's just like a hand caressing the side of
caressing her lips,
and then like caressing his like shoulder, like a big strong man.
and then like her like with like a light behind her. It's fine. It's totally fine.
A light behind her, you forgot to mention, very feathered hair, and it's like shining through her feathered hair, like in like just total White Snake style.
It's great.
It's awesome.
It's great.
This is like why we love the 80s,
It's
and
great.
I'm so glad we're here.
And then we get a fun scene where it's like these two maintenance workers.
Again, I'm probably gonna say it multiple times. Lived in world, like
Yes.
this is like this world is well lived in. There's lots of like kind of just scenes of like people being normal ass people.
Well, you get scenes of like completely random characters, and they still have like a personality.
Right, they have things going on, and they actually say like what they're doing and everything. Like I don't know why. Like it's such a simple thing to add to your movies, but I appreciate when they do it.
Yeah, it just because we know why the scene's there. We know that the characters are there to either die or meet the monster, but at least there's like a personality, and it's fun.
And the only reason I bring it up, I guess, I'll just say this now, is because like a lot of like even new movies, like we just have like these like exposition factories where they're just that character is solely just there to just dump exposition onto you and the plot and everything and what's going on, and hold your hand through the fucking whole movie.
But there's no scenes of like where those characters will just talk to one another
or be like normal people. Yeah.
Or like in this scene where they just kind of riff on each other like friends.
But it's like all serious, all fucking exposition all the time. And I am getting so tired of that. Like I just hate when characters are just there to do dump exposition because it's not realistic.
I know.
Like I'm not sitting here explaining like how the podcast is supposed to go like every single fucking time we hang out, like
we will turn on the computer and then we will turn on the microphone. You will log into Windows.
Okay, here's like what you're gonna say. Here's what you're gonna do. Here's how we're gonna watch the movie.
A podcast. Yeah. A podcast is a thing where two men sit in a room and talk about movies and like.
Yeah, it's like no. Okay. And I'm not going to sit here and explain to the audience like, oh, well, a podcast. We're part of a podcast. A podcast is when you do this. And this. Like, I'm not here to just dump exposition about random bullshit.
No, clearly that's what this movie should have done.
But anyway, so I digress. I'm sorry I went off on a tangent there. But I can appreciate when movies try and like do some like just life, like side characters that actually have a personality and a life instead of just story fucking like a story machine.
Yes. Because you get this scene and like, the guy's like immediately like, every time it's 3 a.m., you know what they do? They call me. They call us. Like, why can't they call anyone else? And like, then he's like going down into the sewer. He's like, you know what I was doing tonight, don't you? He's like going down and the guy's like, was it Valerie?
He's like, He's like, okay, I get the picture.
Humping the ladder. He's like, I get the picture. And he's going down there, and he mentions that it's cold, which we mentioned before, but like, a lot of the other, like one of the other murder victims, like they also mentioned that they felt cold.
And the one maintenance guy just goes, maybe it's Valerie coming back to get more. Like just.
But it's just two friends like shitting on each other.
They're just riffing on each other, and they don't want to be at work, and they're at work.
It's great. Like
it's good.
It's real life, okay?
Yep.
And he walks through there, and he's just like, I don't feel good about this, and he gets attacked.
And the alien is like holding his head.
It's like smashing it against the wall.
Yeah, and like it almost looks like the alien's kissing him. We'll get to like why later because it doesn't exactly show it.
Not yet.
Now. But it does look like they're like kind of like almost kissing, and then he's like slamming his head.
We'll get to that.
Yep. So The other guy like gets scared and like kind of goes down
and sees something.
He sees something and then like somersaults backwards out of the sewer.
He gets the fuck out of there.
And he like puts the manhole over and this like covers it like immediately.
Yeah.
And then he calls the cops, and now we get a scene of them investigating the sewer system. And they're like not sure what's going on, but they see this like goo everywhere. So and we forgot to mention too. Oh man, we're doing bad at the details, right? At every crime scene, there's like having this like sticky goo over everything,
and no
so
one knows what the fuck it is.
They find it, and he's. Is this where he tries to get the author again?
Yeah, well, because he visits him again, and he sees the woman, and he's like, and there's like a joke. He's like, "Oh,
and his apartment's all clean."
Yeah, because like
it's like not dirty anymore.
Before, when she visited, like when she sat down, he had to like clean like all these old newspapers off and dust it off, and now his friend comes in and he's like, you know, he touches the top of everything and like there's no dust. It's all clean, and he's like, "What happened?"
Well, and then she walks in with a file, and she's like, "Where should I file these?" And like the guy immediately knows what's going on.
He knows something's up, and then they talk some more, and he's like, "This is a great woman you got there," but then he gets down to business, like, you know, like we're on like 13 deaths now, like.
He's like, "You got to do something. I need you on this. Like
you're
the only one that can help me."
And he tells him again, like, "No, I'm done."
Yep, and
like,
the guy gets frustrated and is like, "Well, like, you know, more people are gonna die if you don't like help me with this.
If you don't try,
like, people are dying. Like, do you not understand that?" And like, just tries really hard. It goes nowhere because the guy's like super stubborn about like not wanting to join him on the investigation.
But we get a lit scene.
And then we get a scene of like a bunch of like 4 like young adults
with roller skates
and roller skates in like an abandoned parking garage.
And this is great.
And it's good. Like I don't know, like because like
flavor.
Again, you get this like nicely lit like 80s parking garage. They're all like working on their roller skates and stuff. And then one
of the girls has a shirt that says like, "You belong at the zoo" or something.
And like again, flavor, and we get more.
Well, because it's like, did the scene need them to be rollerblading in like high shorts? No, but fuck it, flavor.
It's just, I don't know. It's just
again, it adds personality.
It adds like, it grounds the movie more in reality because it's just people doing normal shit that you would probably.
Yeah, they're just hanging out a parking lot and rollerblading like from the first, like the top floor, all the way to the basement.
So one of the girls gets annoyed of waiting for the other ones because they're all fixing their rollerblades and stuff, and she's like, "You know what? I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna do one round."
And so she goes down, and we get like these shots of like
her rollerblading down,
following her down, and then she gets down to the very bottom where her car is parked.
And we see like the alien walking down the stair. Oh, alien. The monster or thing, whatever. Why do I keep calling these things aliens in these reviews? Like, it's always aliens. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
You just default every monster is an alien?
I just default to alien for some fucking reason. Like, god damn it. Sorry, it's not an alien. It is not an alien. I need to repeat that for myself, too.
It's not an alien. It's not an alien.
So the creature is, like, walking down the stairs, and she hears something and gets kind of, like, freaked out.
Well, because she's at the bottom, and she's, like, taking off her rollerblades and, like, putting on a hoodie and all this stuff, and she just keeps looking over to like where she kind of hears this noise,
and she like grabs her things and like starts like running, but then like sees something and drops her like roller skates and like runs over to like this like door. And
first she hides behind like a pillar,
yeah,
and then I guess she screams because the people upstairs, they're like, what was that? I think that was our friend. And
like, oh crap, we better go like help her. And so they start rollerblading down.
Start going down, and then she runs from like the pillar into like a maintenance closet. And while she's in there, the creature's in there, and this is where we see like what it's doing. So it's like it like holds like her face up to its face, and this like weird like snake tongue.
Yeah, this little pronged tongue starts coming out
and like into her mouth. And
Like, it's not exactly Alien, but it's kind of Alien.
it's not Alien, but it's Alien.
Yeah, it's like
fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Whatever.
care.
It's different enough that it's okay.
I'm just saying someone watched Alien and was like,
Yep.
I got this. Someone watched Alien in the dark and was like, I got you.
You know what? I got this.
I got you.
I can blend the two. Let's do this.
I can do this. And then she falls down, and then like we just see her like bleeding and falling down. But her friends get down there
And they have no idea where she is.
because they just see her like equipment.
Yep. So they open that door, and she like half of her body just falls like
She's just
dangles.
hanging there.
Yep.
And then we get like it's the next like the cops are investigating, and now our writer guy is there. They're trying to talk to the other girl who was there.
And she's in like deep
She's
shock.
in total shock.
She like can't even respond to anything they're saying.
And the captain shows up, and he's dressed in like a fucking like a fancy goddamn like tuxedo.
I love what the freaking author says, because he's like, "What? Did we interrupt your dinner party?"
It's because like he shows up and he's like, I hope you got some progress for me. And he looks over and he sees the author. He's like, what the fuck?
He's like, "No, he can't be here. Like I told you, he can't be on this investigation."
But he shows up there and they just shit on each other. It's great.
And then
And then
the
the
detective
like
sidebars the like author and is like, "Hey, you can't treat the. It took me forever to try and like gain his trust on this."
and he's like, and you went and like ruined it. And he's
Yeah.
like, but he's an asshole. And the guy's like,
like,
I
"I
know,
know."
but you have to like work with me. But also, like while this whole scene's going on, we see from way earlier in the movie the woman who is doing her laundry and watching the news and making the phone call.
So the woman, the author's girlfriend sees her, and she's like, "I'm gonna go try and get some information out of her," because she was saying she doesn't want to talk to the cops.
Yeah,
But she'll talk to like an informant.
but she
basically.
says she knows something.
Yep. So she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go follow her." So she follows her to this like research.
So I guess she's supposed to meet her at this facility.
Yeah, because they talked, and she said, "Meet me at this research facility."
And it's like something like a laboratory or something.
Yeah.
But she goes there, it's completely empty.
And the lights don't work.
No lights work, so the whole scene is just caked in fucking blue, which is great stuff.
Yeah, it looks
Blue
good.
and dry ice. They got the dry ice
Oh yeah, they
working
got the
overtime.
fog going. They
It's
got the
great.
dry ice fog going. It's great. It looks good.
And like there's slime, so you know shit's gonna go down.
So she's looking around, and like she sees like a bunch of paperwork and stuff about like experimentation and stuff. It doesn't really matter because
She doesn't know what she's looking for.
yeah, so she has no idea. And then like the alien, god damn it,
You did it.
I did it again. The fucking creature. Sorry, Jesus Christ. Okay, so the creature sneaks up on her, and she doesn't really like have time to scream or anything.
Well, it's just like she's like kind of in this corner, and then you see like the shadow just kind of like,
And she's like total like in fear.
because she looks at it and it's like, I mean, it's established that it's pretty like tall, like compared to her at least. It's like fucking towering over her.
And so like grabs her face and does the tongue thingy, and you think she's like gonna die, right?
And then you see the author guy is at like his office, and he gets a phone call, and they're like, "Hey, it's your girlfriend.
She was attacked and she's in a coma.
She's in a coma. We don't know what happened."
So then he goes to the hospital and tries to like see her, and the doctor won't let her in because
But he's just telling him that
let
it's
him
like,
in because he's not like immediate family.
Yeah.
And he's like, "We're trying to contact her family," and he's like, "I don't know, like if that's
You're not
gonna
going
work.
to?
Like you're not. She doesn't have any
Yeah.
family. Can I go in and see her?" And she's like, "No." The doctor's like, "No."
and he tells him that it's like she's in danger of slipping into like, I don't know what the word was that he used, but like a deep, permanent coma, basically.
So then, back at the apartment, Lonergan's apartment, he's like drunk in a drunken stupor. He's
And
like
the-
sleeping on his desk, and the detective comes back.
And he's like, telling him, you have to stop this. Like,
He's like, "We have to figure out what happened to her. Like, you can't just like basically like loathe in this like state."
and then the woman the woman we've seen before who was going to talk to his girlfriend, who we saw at the very beginning, she shows up, and she gives us the
We
the
get
dump.
the obligatory exposition dump,
where we find out what the fuck this is.
which is fine because it's like, it's like an hour into an hour and a half minute.
I mean, the scene's
movie,
only like 2 minutes long.
Yeah, and she knows like exactly what's going on because she's basically explaining to them how there was this experiment. He was experimenting.
So she went to work for like this doctor after college as like an internship or something.
It's like
and-
genetic mutations and stuff like that.
He was trying to create a new life form.
And so he did,
Mm-hmm.
and he was going. It was like growing at a rapid rate and everything, and he actually
thought it was
made
dangerous.
He thought it was dangerous because it was growing too fast and becoming too strong. So he's going to destroy it before he left the lab.
But he passed away.
But he had a heart attack and passed away, so he couldn't destroy it. So it was just left unchecked and just like
It
grew exponentially
Escaped.
into what we call what do they call
Please
it?
remind me.
It is called a Syngenor.
Syngenor.
Yep,
Like a Pokemon.
A Pokemon.
It stood. I don't even remember. It was like synthetic genetic organism.
Yes, a synthetic genetic organism
It's fine.
is how they explain it, which is whatever.
It's fine.
It's fine. Like it sounds like a stupid name, but whatever, it works.
But she, they're like, okay, because eventually, like, they believe her.
They're like, okay, but like if we're gonna bring this to a case, we need evidence. Like we need to know what's going on with this thing and like how we can like potentially destroy it or what we need to do with it. And the woman's like, okay, well I'm gonna go back to the research facility and see if I can find any information
On how to kill it.
on how to stop this thing. You know.
But, so she goes back, and the two of them are just kind of do their thing. And eventually,
Well, eventually remember the detective calls the author and it's like, hey, like they closed the case.
they killed some guy in a shootout, and they think it's him.
Yep.
But then he also tells them, like, because she told them that the way it kills, or its preferred method, is that it puts people into like a coma. It gives them a stroke or something.
It like feeds off their spinal fluid.
It needs spinal fluid to stay alive, and that's what the fucking pronged tongue is for.
And her theory is it's trying to reproduce because it can
Yes.
reproduce asexually, but it needs like hosts
to feed off
to
of.
grow new forms.
And the guy is like, if she's right, and like it basically puts people into comas or gives them strokes, then there's been like dozens more murders
Yes.
that we don't even like bother investigating. But eventually, the guy, like, he's like mapping out like all the deaths, and I
When you
guess
see it's all coming from this like,
the center is the research lab. So
and he's like, oh, this girl's in danger.
so he goes there, and
I love the part before he goes there though, because he's like she's in danger, and he like opens this drawer,
so it's like
his gun drawer.
it's just a tiny like desk drawer, disorganized as fuck, but
It's completely like chock-a-block full of fucking guns.
it's great. He just, of course, grabs the biggest one.
There's like 7 guns in there, like every detective gun known to man. There's like revolvers and like pistols and like just everything. And he
I love he grabs the biggest
the
one.
biggest fucking gun in the entire thing, shoves it in a holster, and like goes off to like save this woman.
It's great, and he goes there, and she's like looking around in the meantime, because she hears a noise. She hears it's like a scratching at like a door, and she opens this door, and it's a door going outside, but there's like a body there,
yeah.
and it's the maintenance worker from before.
And that's when our author guy shows up, right?
Yeah, and they see him, and he's all like blue and like bloody, and like has like, it almost looks like a cobweb on his face.
And he's like vomiting up this like green mucus
Which we'll find
stuff.
out
Yeah.
what that is. But he's just telling them like it's in the sewers. It's in the sewers.
Yep,
And dies.
Like, that's how. And now we obviously knew it was using the sewers to get around to killing people.
Because his thing, the writer's thing was like, how the hell does nobody see this thing? Like no one sees it
Yeah,
walking
it's like
around.
it's just traveling around in the sewers. That's how no one
And-
sees it.
They see like where the guy came from, so they go down into the sewer.
And they're like investigating, and then they come in this chamber, and it's like all these dead bodies, right? Like, well, not even dead. They're like kind of like half alive because they're all groaning and moaning and stuff. And you see these things like attached to their like, it's like attached to their chest.
But it's like this like, I don't even know. It almost looks like a fucking like, what am I even thinking of? Like that fossil creature.
It's like a big blob in the middle of everything.
But it's got like,
and it's like pulsating and like.
And they see that it's like they're feeding off of like these bodies, but those are gonna be like the grown creatures.
So in one of the coolest shots in the entire movie, the guy pulls out the gun and he's like, "Okay, well, we're gonna end."
Well, because he like goes up to one of the bodies and tries.
He like rips off the thing that's like feeding off of the guy,
and it like the guy spews out like green goop and dies.
And you see the thing next to him like screeching, and then he pulls out his gun and he's gonna shoot. He shoots it once, and then we get this really cool scene of him like holding the flashlight and like this like stylized.
Oh, it's great.
Like shot of him like holding the gun and the
with
flashlight
like the blue light.
With the blue light, like harsh blue light on him, and it just looks like fucking cool as shit, like a total hero moment. He just fucking shoots it again.
And of course, it's an 80s movie, so it doesn't just like... The bullet doesn't just make an impact. It fucking explodes the thing.
It obliterates the thing, and he starts shooting more of them, and then the Syngenor appears and attacks them, and they run away, and they run away, and we get like a chase in the sewers. It's like slowly lumbering towards them, and they're kind of getting lost in the sewers. They try and open like a manhole cover,
but it won't open.
It's the same manhole cover that the two maintenance guys came in, but it won't open because the guy like sealed it shut. And so they go to another like maintenance grate.
Well, they find like this like place that's like sealed off, and there's a grate there, but he can't reach it.
So he like takes off all the boards, and then he has to go back to get a ladder
because he saw there was a ladder on the ground. He picks it up.
He does shoot the Syngenor like a few times, but it doesn't do anything to it.
Yeah, it just gets back up.
Yeah. So they get on this ladder, they go up, and then now they're in a steelworking factory.
In the meantime, the his cop friend shows up at the research lab.
Yes.
And sees the dead body and sees the tracks going to the sewer and is like, and tells like a guy like, I want a map of where these things lead.
Yes.
And they're in the meantime they're running around this like steel mill, and the thing is still chasing them.
So they're trying to get out because all the doors are like sealed from the outside, I guess.
And the windows, like everything's.
So like they're trying to like find a way like out of this metalwork factory. And so they go to this one like room. It's like a office. And they think they're safe in there, and they like he starts looking around, and the Syngenor like busts through the fucking door. And they like escape through this little like opening in like one of the like it's like one of those tiny windows that you can like snake through.
And they go through there, and they're still like trapped. And eventually, the guy sees like this contraption.
It's like a forge press. It's like a giant like press.
And he basically like tells the woman like, I'm gonna like lead the thing here, and you are gonna stay here, and you have to like.
We should mention that the woman lost her glasses in the sewers, and so she can't really see anything, and that comes kind of into play. I mean, it's not like a huge plot detail, but it kind of comes into play in this scene because there's like a note and she can't read it.
Yeah, because like the guy goes to like do his shtick, and she picks up this note, and we can see on the note it says like, if you let this thing run for more than a minute,
it like blows the breakers,
and then you have to go and like reactivate the breakers, and then the thing will work. And so like she's like standing there trying to read it, and she can't read it, and she's just like, there's something like, there's a note here, something about breakers.
Yeah,
and then the power goes out because of this, and he flips the breakers, and the thing is right there.
Yep. And it like starts like picking him up, and you think it's gonna like do that whole like tongue thing, and then the detective shows up
with a shotgun
and blasts this motherfucker right onto the press.
And then he tells the woman like, do it like,
and then she like slams down on the two buttons, and this thing just like gets smushed.
And yeah,
and then that's the end of the Syngenor. maybe.
Maybe. We do get a quick thing at the end, though.
Yep. So the author's like girlfriend finally starts waking up from her coma because the thing's dead, and
she's like, Ted.
She's like, Ted, where are you? And like she opens the door, and this another Syngenor comes out and like attacks her, and you're like, oh shit! And then like she wakes up and like is all like disheveled and just like like flop sweating and everything, and she's like, you can like tell like something's fucked her up.
And then we get like a shot of the sewers.
And like the steamy sewers, and then it like just it freeze frames on like a dark passage.
Yeah.
And then
credits.
Man, this movie, it was really good. Like the cinematography alone is like, it's just really refreshing to see this kind of like level of like, you could tell
care.
Yeah, you could tell they knew what they were doing. And I know it's a B movie, but I can appreciate them at least trying, right? Because they didn't have to.
No.
We've seen so many movies where they don't give a shit about...
They could have been lazy.
...setting up the shot or anything like that. But, like, again, I always have to give credit to these movies that actually try. Like, they know no one's going to watch these movies, but they still give a shit.
Yeah, like...
It's admirable. It's weird, but it's admirable.
I mean, yeah, like, I've never fucking heard of this movie before, and... I mean, I really didn't expect anything from it.
It's kind of weird when you see, like, this level of skill to a movie that, like, literally no one has watched.
That no one gives a shit about.
Yeah, like, no one fucking cares about this movie. Like, it's like, actually pretty, like, skillfully made. I mean, for a B movie. I'm not saying it's going to be... I'm trying not to say it's, like, a masterpiece or anything, but, like...
It's fun.
It is really fun. It's really well done. The script wasn't dumb. Like the characters actually felt like real
people,
which was great. And
the narrative keeps chugging along.
And I'll admit, like, the acting was not that bad.
No,
it really wasn't. There was no scenes that were like laughably bad.
Oh no.
Like, none of the actors did, like, a terrible job.
No, there wasn't.
There was a few, like, gaffes where, like, the guy, like, the author reacting to the guy telling him something on the phone was kind of, like, a little forced, where he's like, what? Like...
It's fine.
It felt a little, like... that just feels nitpicky, though. I mean, that's not, like... It didn't take away from any of the movie.
It's fine. It's not... But it's not quite the level of The Happening.
No.
Not that.
Well, no, it's not that level, but it kind of had that air of, like, you could tell he was, like, trying to act surprised, but just couldn't quite get it.
Because there's no one on the phone. It's just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, like, I mean, that's, like, a little tiny thing. And if I had to, like, nitpick a little bit more, I would say the monster was kind of unoriginal and didn't look that great. But, that being said... They didn't show the monster a lot, so it was fine.
I mean, it's a smart choice on their end.
Yeah, it is, because the monster design wasn't really good. It was, like, kind of stupid, in my opinion.
But
it was serviceable.
It's a guy in a suit.
It was serviceable for the movie, and they didn't show him a lot, so it was great. Like, they just showed him killing people. They didn't really, like, show a lot of, like, the full form or anything. No. And I think that was to their advantage, because I think it would have taken away from the movie and kind of been more ridiculous if they showed the monster more, because it wasn't a great design.
No, I mean, the best part of it is, like, the face, which is the thing you see the most.
Because the eyes are kind of creepy, I will admit. But
it's got, like, the teeth.
I would just say it's, like, kind of an original with the whole, like, alien thing where it, like, comes out and everything.
Yeah.
And, like, trying to, like, reproduce asexually. We've seen that a bunch of times.
And it feeds off of living bodies for its eggs.
But again, like, this just feels kind of nitpicky, because it's just an hour and a half, like, kind of, like, you know, movie about a genetically modified, like, creature.
Yeah, just going ham.
That just murders people. And, like, it's fine for what it is. It's a good, like, it's entertaining. I don't know. It's not bad, and
you'll get your hour and a half worth.
Yeah,
out of this.
It's well made, and so I think you'll enjoy it. I would recommend this movie.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into monster movies, I don't see why not.
So, Shitty Pretty, what would you give this?
I would give this I'd say an 8.
I think an 8 is a good thing. It's not quite like masterpiece tier.
No, it's not. It's not Death Force or like Which You Came from the Sea, of just like elevated, like beauty.
Like one of those movies where you like sit back and you're just like, how is this so low rated?
Yeah, where you're just like, you're in awe of what you've kind of been through.
Yep.
But fun movie.
It's a good way to just like spend an hour and a half. Like just sit back, have a few brews with some like bros or some friends, and like just hang out and watch a kind of like a dumb little horror movie that's like actually pretty entertaining.
Like if I don't know, if I came across this on my own and watched it, like it's one of those movies where if I watched this on my own, I wouldn't turn it off.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. It's not one of those things where it's like it's entertaining only with friends. Like if you watched it by yourself, I'm sure you'd have a decent time.
Like it's still like you can get a good time out of this, and like
it's just fun. Like I don't know, like I don't know how else to describe it than that. It's just a fun little movie that has some really well like set up shots and some pretty good directing and some pretty good cinematography. So, like simplistic soundtrack, acting is okay.
Some fun writing.
Like I don't know, it's just like a kind of a cliche story, but who cares? It's like
who cares?
It's a horror movie. Who cares?
It's a monster movie.
It's a monster movie. You don't need a in-depth plot.
No, it's obviously it's not Alien, but very few things can.
But it works.
Yeah.
If you do want to watch this movie, it is on Amazon Prime for the time being. That's where we watched it, and actually the film quality is good.
Yeah, it's not like
it's not the best.
You can tell that this movie isn't like popular enough to get an HD
a facelift
remaster, but it's viewable. Like I wasn't fucking. I mean, it didn't give me a headache.
Well, it wasn't like The Dark where you couldn't see fucking anything.
Yeah, it wasn't just potato.
Yep.
Potato movie.
So yeah, I don't know. If you need an hour and a half horror movie that's pretty decent from like the 1980s, you could do a lot worse than this one. And yeah, so Scared to Death. I wasn't exactly scared to death, but man, I was entertained the whole time. Oh man.
I think that's it.
I think that's all I have to say. It's
just, watch it.
Just go watch it. It's fun.
Like,
just go watch it and have fun.
Yeah,
you deserve it. It's 2021. It's a new year.
It's a new year.
Go fucking have fun.
You don't have to worry about The Fiend anymore or The Dark.
I mean,
we have this.
You might have to worry about our next movie. I'm not sure. I don't know, but we'll see.
You probably do.
Yep.
You probably do. I know.
See, Alex is the mastermind behind choosing all the movies. I handle all the other stuff, but he chooses the movies, so he knows what's going to happen. I don't.
Let's just say that when you look up movies, there's a threshold to which if a movie's rating falls below that threshold, all hope is lost.
Like this one has a 4.2 on IMDb.
This is low as fuck. Like per normal movie rankings, this is low. This is dirt. But we liked it. So.
And we've had like movies that are rated like 5 stars on IMDb and they're shit.
And they're garbage, yeah. Like, but again, like a 4.2 is like the possibilities there, But when your movie's below like a 3,
yeah, it's bad. It's fucking bad. It's trash.
Ain't happening.
That means like no one likes it.
That means
there's
like
not even a cult following.
I mean, there might be. I don't know about this one. Look, if this one surprises me, I'll be shocked.
I doubt it.
We'll see, though. Hey, open mind.
But again, we're back on schedule. It's 2021. It's a new year. It's a new year of the podcast. Who knows what's going to happen, okay?
It's fine. Well, you know what? We'll survive, no matter what.
We'll survive, and the podcast will, like, go
We survived
on.
2020.
Yes.
We survived Savage Water and 2020.
Yes.
All...
Savage Water, the worst movie we've ever watched. We sat through it.
We sat through the whole thing.
We did.
No fast forwards.
Nothing. I didn't even fall asleep.
You fell asleep during better movies.
I know.
But Savage Water was so bad you couldn't even sleep.
My eyes were glued to the screen the entire time.
Like you couldn't. It was like nails on the chalkboard while you're trying to sleep. Just like
you can't sleep. But we're back. 2021. Let's go. We're gonna. It's gonna be a good time. I'm
Indeed.
pretty sure, at least for the podcast. I don't know how the world is gonna take 2021, but we'll see. Only time will tell.
The podcast will live. It's like a cockroach.
Yes.
The nukes may fall.
You can't kill it. I don't even care if we have just 2 viewers.
It doesn't matter.
If we drop down to 2 viewers, I'm still gonna fucking go ham on this fucking podcast.
The world could end, and
we will be your last bastions of hope.
It'll be like that
come
fucking
out at night podcast.
Be like that fucking guy in Fallout 3 who has the radio. Will be us. It's not a radio though. It's just us watching shit movies.
Yep, us watching shit movies and then commenting on them and fucking reviewing them for your viewing pleasure to give you some joy in this world.
Oh Jesus.
For They Mostly Come Out at Night, this has been Will.
This has been Alex.
And we will talk to you all later.
Bye.
Hope you had a happy new year.
Wild.